Thank you, Mr. Chair, and mahalo for your leadership, and I echo the comments of our colleagues today, and thanking you for your service. Sadly, we have heard too often dangerous claims that withdrawing from the World Health Organization would somehow make the world safer for Americans and hold the PRC accountable. Make no mistake, a return to the Trump administration's isolationist approach to global health will undoubtedly put American lives at risk. Calls for accountability and cutting funding or withdrawing from the WHO are not part of any legitimate effort for reform, and they are not part of any thoughtful strategy about how to make us safer and healthier. As our witnesses have shared today, if we aren't at the table, someone else will take our place. And if it's accountability we want, we need China under the tent versus operating in a blind spot. Republicans' repeated attempts to gut global health programs, including domestic programs at the CDC that track the outbreaks of emerging diseases and fight bioterrorism, will not keep Americans safe. In fact, just the opposite. Donald Trump's dissolution of the National Security Council's Global Health Unit, which was monitoring cases of a deadly flu strain in China and an outbreak of yellow fever in Angola just prior to the pandemic, did not keep Americans safe. And in one of the most egregious global health decisions of all, Donald Trump's attempts to halt U.S. funding and withdraw from the World Health Organization were not only a national embarrassment, but also sent a signal to our competitors that the United States was willing to abdicate our global leadership. Ambassador Kengasong, you previously served at the World Health Organization, including during the pandemic. How did Donald Trump's decision to cut U.S. funding for the WHO and pull us out of the organization shape perceptions of the United States, and in what ways might this have actually elevated the PRC's influence and interest within the organization?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for that statement and the question. I must state very clearly that we always have to have a seat at the table. It's the only way that we can influence the issues and protect our interests. It's the only way we can influence the issues and protect our interests. We are not at the table because we want to just be generous, but because we are truly wanting to protect our interests. When we, the United States, isn't at the table, others will take our place. Our competitors are waiting for such an opportunity to influence the discussion, the dialogue, and tilt it even in their favor. I think we should not and should never accept that to happen. And just for the record, Congresswoman, I've never worked at the WHO, so my comments are totally transparent. I was a special envoy for COVID for Africa during the very early days of COVID, until I was nominated for this position. So I've been an envoy but not worked at WHO. But you're absolutely right. We should always have our seat at the table and use that seat to protect our interests and to advance our interests in global health security.
Thank you for that clarification there, Ambassador. And I would also argue that we've heard a lot today on this dais about the PRC's elevated influence within the WHO, and I would argue that that probably happened as a result of the United States vacating its position upon the WHO. So again, we should always have that seat at the table, least someone else take it from us. We're thankful that President Biden has moved quickly to reverse the Trump administration's harmful decision, even if the damage has already been done. Assistant Secretary Pace is a senior official regularly engaged with the WHO. What is your assessment of how our country is still recovering on the international stage from the harmful decision to cut U.S. funding and withdraw from the WHO?
Well, thank you, Madam Congresswoman, for this very important question, because U.S. leadership is quite essential in this space. And just turning back to the negotiations, for example, it took quite a bit for us to bring countries along with our proposal to amend the international health regulations. I think to this day, we feel there is quite a bit of skepticism with regards to whether or not the U.S. is entering those conversations in good faith. Honestly, I think we know here our intentions and the importance of improving those existing regulations, but there are still questions about our intentions and our staying power, if you will. An important aspect of those regulations as well includes helping build or rebuild the capacity of countries around the world to actually implement them and adhere to them. And so one important question that countries have or continue to have of us is whether the U.S. will continue to be a part of that technical assistance, even beyond funding. The enduring relationships that we've had that my colleagues have described are essential. And so we have tried to ensure those member states that we are here, again, in service to Americans, but also in ways that hopefully will benefit the world.
Thank you very much. And no doubt we have a lot of work to do to, again, rebuild that trust and that presence on the global stage. And no doubt attempted cuts to funding is not helping in ensuring those other member countries that we have the staying power that we should have to ensure safety and security, the health and accountability overall for Americans and others across the globe. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I yield back my time.